local sports fee and the local TV fee. You know?
Yeah. Are there many people online today? Or in, Paula, are there many people online?
One person.
Can't decide if I want it right now.
So far,
In between.
people dip in and out.
Yeah. Especially people with kids.
Is Bruce Levinson calling in?
Not that I'm aware
He's
of.
not able to?
It's definitely Gwen.
I know that, yeah.
I'm not sure. It's the nice lady in the back. You can always ask her. Would you like me to ask her?
No, I'm just getting ready to go.
You might just pick me up with the wrong.
Speaker.
I'm really tired of this online stuff, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay. Can we all stand for the, oh, should I read the message first, right? Before the flag salute? Sorry.
Yes.
I order, okay. This meeting is called pursuant in provisions of the Open Public Meetings Law. This meeting of July 11, 2023, with instructions for internet access was included in a meeting notice set to the Burlington County Times, Courier Post on January 4th, 2023, and advertised in said newspapers on January 6, 2023, and January 10, 2023, respectively. Posted on the website, bulletin board in the municipal building on January 4th, 2023, and has remained continuously posted as required under statute. In addition, a copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the municipal clerk. Can we all stand for the flag salute? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, can we have a roll call?
Mayor Klaus?
Here.
Mr. Montgomery?
Here.
Mr. Levinson? Mrs. Gilmore? Mrs. Evans?
Here.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the regular minutes for January 13th?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mrs. Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mayor Klaus?
Yes. Okay, we got the reports here. First of all, did we get a report from the EMS yet?
No, we have not.
Okay, it's been quite a while, right? So,
It has been since
okay.
20.
All right, we're going to start off with the New Jersey State Police. Do you have anything to report for us? No, sir. Okay. All right,
Thank you for taking care of our town. Appreciate it, Troop.
okay, with that, can I get a motion to accept the reports?
So move.
Second?
Mrs. Gilmore? Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mrs. Evans?
Yes.
Mayor Klaus?
Yes. Okay, we got a discussion presentation with Gwen Bale, Backyard Chickens, if you'd like to come up.
Hi, thank you so much for inviting me to talk a little bit about backyard hens. My name is Gwen Bale. I'm from Haddon Township, Camden County, and I'm founder and chair of Camden County Chickens and Therapy Hens. And I've been fortunate to help 29 towns in the Delaware Valley change their ordinance to allow backyard hens. No roosters are allowed in the residential areas. And it's been across all kinds of demographics that you could possibly want to look into. We have little towns, 4,000 or 5,000 people. We have huge towns. We have towns that cover 30 square miles. We have 4 towns, 2 in Gloucester Township, 1 in Burlington, in Delran, and the other in Camden County in Voorhees, that actually still have some farms, and we don't care what happens with the farms. We're looking at backyards, and we're looking at hens. And so when we came to talk about having hens in those towns, we just had to reinforce that whatever the farmers were doing, if it was fine by the Right to Farm Act and they were taking care of waste the way they should and whatever, that they were not part of this. We're strictly talking about the residential areas. And I'm really pleased to say that every single program has been a success and there are no complaints. And I have several reasons that I think that that is so. Most of the time, most towns require a class. And I teach the class at Burlington County Ag Center, and it doesn't have to be my class, but it's a 3-hour class. So at one, it's automatically going to weed out people that are kind of on the fence when they really hear how it is and what it's going to cost and what's involved with it. So I think anybody that might be on the fence that could maybe not be valuable to a program probably would decide after the class they didn't want to proceed. But the other thing is, they know everything. They know how to predator-proof things. They know how to keep the chickens in their yard, how not to get a rooster, and there are ways not to get a rooster, so we don't have to deal with that. So the class, I think, has been extremely valuable in making the program succeed. The other thing that I think is really interesting is that I'm starting, I guess probably over the last year or so, to get emails all the time about, I'm planning on moving. Am I allowed to have chickens in this town, this town, this town? Because these are the ones I'm looking at. So towns that are not going to allow hens could possibly lose residents because they want to be in towns where they can have hens. Either they already have them where they live and they want to bring them with them, or they want to get hens. So that's another thing to be thinking about. It certainly does nothing to housing values. When the house next door sold to me, it was after I had chickens, and they got $15,000 more than the asking price with the people knowing I had chickens in my backyard. So there's nothing to do with that. We've also crossed the demographics of wealthy towns versus standard average towns. Haddonfield allows backyard hens, and Tavistock. If you know of Tavistock, it's an offshoot of Haddonfield with $6 million homes and a country club. And they allow backyard hens in Tavistock. So it has nothing to do with that. So it doesn't matter. I can almost guarantee you, of the 29 towns that I've worked with, somebody's town is going to be just like Hainesport. So there is really no such thing as it won't work here when it works in 29 towns where there aren't complaints. And I take that very responsibly to try to contact every town at least once in the year to say, how's the program going? Are you having complaints? They're not. Okay, so in the beginning, most of the towns started out with pilot programs because they were unsure. They didn't want to make the commitment of just creating an ordinance. And we proved everything with the initial pilots, which generally are 2 years long, that they're successful, and they've all been turned into ordinances because they've been successful. So Haddonfield, Tavistock, Voorhees, they skipped the pilot program and just changed the ordinance. We've done all that work for you. But if you're not comfortable with that concept, certainly a pilot program for a couple years would be able to show you that your residents can do it just the same as residents in all these other towns. The other thing that I think is really important is that we don't look at yard size, because it's been proven not to be an issue. Okay, we went by, most of the towns use the Haddon Township pilot program and then ordinance as their background, their basics, and then we change things. And things have modernized, and we've worked at changing things along. But the biggest thing is that you certainly don't need an acre to raise 4 hens. 4 people don't get an acre to live on. You don't need it for 4 hens. The average town has somewhere between 4, a couple 12 if somebody has a big enough property. But most of it is based on where the coop and the run is located in your yard. And it's not really outrageous either, because we need to have environmental and food justice here. So somebody should not have to own 3 acres because they can afford it, when the average person can't afford a property of 3 acres. So ours all go by 20 feet from the windows and doors of the contiguous neighbors. So that means that the coop, which they only go into to lay their eggs and to sleep, and they're attached, predator-proof, everything is predator-proof. It gets, actually, we do a site visit. Most towns do 2. One, we want to make sure their property meets the ordinance, and the second, before they can get chickens, it's like a CO for chickens. We go and check the coop and make sure it's predator-proof and it follows all the guidelines. So that's how that all works. But by 20 feet, that includes the coop and their run, which is like a huge, I hope, dog pen that's totally predator-proof, covered, hardware cloth, whole bit. And that has to be at least 20 feet from the neighbor's windows and doors. And the reason is that it's been proven, and we have a 36-page law review article I can give everybody, that at that distance, hens are not going to make any more noise than if you and I were having this conversation in my backyard. It's not going to wake the baby or anything like that. They certainly let you know a little song when they have the egg, but it's not long, it's not like dogs barking or even lawnmowers and things like that. And the other thing is, if you keep it clean, and people don't realize, we don't want to smell it either. If you keep it clean, they're not going to smell it at 20 feet either. So that's where it comes from. It doesn't have anything to do with you must have a 1/4 acre or ½ acre, anything like that. And it may depend on how big your yard is, whether your coop can be enough for 4 hens, because it has to fit that criteria. So that is what works and what makes it fair to all residents that can at least afford to buy a coop and a run. So I kind of think I've done my 10 minutes, if you have a couple questions before I sit down. Otherwise, what I'd really like to do at some point is have a meeting maybe on Zoom with a couple of you, where we can go into some of the ordinances into a lot more detail. And, you know, I'm certainly would love to work with you to help something that would work for Hagesport, for your residents, but also follow the guidelines that's made it work all over South Jersey.
I think,
Thank you, Gwen.
thank you. I think you pretty much covered it all.
Okay.
You have a question, Anna?
Yeah, I do. So 29 towns, how long ago was the first town ordinance?
2015.
2015.
Yeah, Barrington actually was 1 month before Haddon Township. We didn't know they were doing it. Our ordinance was better.
But Haddon was 2015.
Yeah, August of 2015. So we've had chickens in Haddon Township for that long, and we currently have 27 houses with hens, and it's working. We don't have
And
any
0
problem.
complaints?
What's that?
0 complaints in Haddon Township?
What?
No complaints?
No complaints in Haddon Township, no.
Okay.
So, I mean, you know, you're certainly welcome to call mayors or whatever if you don't believe me, but I can give you all the documentation that everything's working just fine. People are really committed. By the time they take the class, and then it costs us $10 for the coop, not per chicken, a year, and they want chickens. They want to do it. They don't want the program to fail because they screw up. So if anything, I think we're much more vigilant, and, you know, we don't want you to say, oh, nope, not working, you got to get rid of your chickens, because we're just too committed to make it work.
All right, does
right.
Paula have your contact information?
I can give it to her, or Anna has it.
Okay, good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
We'd also like to get a copy of the law review, the article that you,
Yeah, I can
yeah,
email that.
perfect.
Thank you once again.
Thank you. All right, we have a discussion presentation for declaring certain property along Route 38, which is basically the mobile home park, in need of rehab in accordance with NJA 40A:12A:1.
This is a sort of an expansion of the area in need of rehabilitation that the committee considered, referred to the planning board a couple of months ago, and then approved for an area off of Greenwood Avenue, off of Route 38, that is currently a mobile home facility. And those owners who have been working to upgrade the property have had discussions with neighboring property and are, I think, now under contract to buy it, or close to being under contract to buy it. And the front of it, you know, if you Googled it, the front of it is an area that could probably be used to some degree commercially. They want to use the rear of it to add a few more mobile homes to the existing and proposed expanded Haynes Mobile Home Park. So, and it does seem to qualify, I've discussed this with Scott, it does seem to qualify under the rehabilitation statute, under those criteria.
Clearly, we have a new caller.
Hello.
So this is a resolution, again, you're not adopting it, but you are referring it to the planning board for their review and comment before you do adopt it, and if you did that, you would do that at the August meeting.
Would it be possible to see a visual of what this property looks like currently? Is they going to demolish it, right? Or that's the most likely outcome, no?
No, I think it's important to look at it, but I just did it by Google Maps. We just looked at it on the Google
Right.
thing and said, where's the property? And you can see where it is bordered on the east by, is that Greenwood? Comes up
Yes.
off of Greenwood.
Greenwood is the
And
big-
38 to the north. And then behind it is the new warehouse.
Okay.
So it's in an area that could benefit from a designation to help enhance its development potential.
And who owns the property?
I don't know who owns it now.
Okay.
They have been in discussions with the owner of the property. There is a house on it that's more than 50 years old. And it was our understanding that they were under contract and that party was interested in selling them that piece.
I just feel like, so the last time this happened, we ended up demolishing those two lovely farmhouses on Marne Highway and putting up a big ugly old warehouse. And I just, this whole, if a building is 50 years old or more, instantly it qualifies to be, you know, an area for zoning rehabilitation. It just doesn't sit very well.
It's one of the criteria under the statute, and again, the reason that we're not saying this is a rehabilitation area in and of itself, although it probably could qualify, is we're combining it with the one that was already designated to be a rehab area that had a number of properties over 50 years.
Right, and I totally agreed that that should be a zone in need of rehabilitation, but I'm just not sure I want to do that without seeing it like myself. And
Well, you're not voting on it tonight, you're referring it to the planning
Right,
board, so you have
okay.
another month to look at it yourself.
Okay,
if you
that's
would.
fine.
And that's where I was asking, who owns the property? You know, that's, and I know you don't know that, but again, if we own the property, then we'd have some say as to.
No, we don't own the
Right.
property. It's
But
not-
we don't own the property, so it's kind of like, you know, sorry to see that place go, but if we don't own it, we
But
can't.
we do get to vote on the final
On,
zoning.
sure,
Right.
right. But, yeah, but if it's not our property, we can't tell them they can't knock something down. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, wait a minute, time out. Let's stipulate, this is not municipally owned property.
Right, that's what I'm saying, right. That's what I was clarifying.
Once you declare it to be an area in need of rehabilitation, that doesn't mean anything other than you can now move forward with a redevelopment plan. And this town has never done a redevelopment plan without the cooperation of the property owner. So I
Right.
Now, again,
could
going
you?
back
You
to the,
could, but But rehabilitation doesn't give you one of the differences between rehabilitation and redevelopment is that redevelopment allows the power of condemnation, for example. Rehabilitation doesn't give you that power. So in a redevelopment designation, you could, against the property owner's wishes, knock a building down. You'd have to pay for it, just take it, right? Rehab doesn't give you that power. Right? There's
Okay.
one of the differences in terms of the scope of authority that you enjoy once it's been determined to qualify as an area in need of rehabilitation.
So what you're saying is they wouldn't demolish this building?
Well, you wouldn't have the authority to.
No.
Now, the buyer.
The
if
buyer.
Yeah, they could demolish it.
So
But then it's their- but then
that's
it's
where
their
I'm
building.
struggling, John, because what happened with the ugly warehouse is that there were two beautiful farmhouses and they were declared an area in need of rehabilitation, and then the owner who bought them knocked them down. Right? And that still doesn't sit well with me, or indeed, I think many people, many residents of Hainsport, that those beautiful buildings were destroyed to make that warehouse.
If that's the question, to me, first, I reject the proposition it's an ugly warehouse.
We can agree to disagree on that.
Right, but I don't want to answer the question and have someone assume I agreed with your proposition.
Right, no, understood.
Your foundation. That was done all along with the premise that it was going to be. I mean, there was shortly after the rehabilitation area was declared, we'd already entered into an escrow agreement with the prospective developer of that site. So there was never any secret about that, right? And then once they owned it, it was their right to demolish those two buildings. Here, this is not being proposed, nor is it sufficient size to even consider a warehouse. It's a small warehouse. It's not a big property. It's being proposed because it offers an opportunity to expand and add 4 more units to the mobile home site. It also helps clean up that rear part of Greenwood Avenue behind Allen's Oil, between Allen's Oil and the existing mobile home, which is it's sort of a no man's land, but it's a municipally owned no man's land. And if this goes according to what it is hoped to go, that strip of Greenwood for which the township is now responsible could be vacated. And we no longer have any responsibility for it. Because the only property owners that benefit are this owner and that owner. It's not a throughway, but it's a municipal road.
Okay. I will make sure I inspect the area before I actually have to vote on it.
Yeah, that's right.
So what we're basically doing is,
So a motion would be, so if you're going to take action on this, it is a motion to refer it to the planning board in accordance with the New Jersey Housing and Redevelopment Law, for them to comment and report back to the governing body with regard to the designation of the area as an area in need of rehabilitation. You can just say so moved if you wish.
So moved.
So moved.
second. Thanks, John, for that explanation.
Sure.
Do we get a vote on that, or just?
Do I need
All
to?
in favor?
Okay,
I'm going to abstain.
okay,
So I would do a roll call then.
okay. Mr. Montgomery? Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mayor Klaus?
Yes.
Mrs. Evans?
Abstain.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, John. Okay, it's that time of the meeting where we get comments from the public. For agenda items only, please raise your hand, and I'll call on you to come up. You got to state your name and your address. Nope.
Lewis.
Louis, you're, wait, yeah.
Good evening. Can you hear me? My name is Steve Pollack, 3 Burnwood Road in Hainsport Chase. And I think I've lived in Hainsport, between Creekview and Hainsport Chase for 15, 16 years. It goes by really quick. It's my first township meeting, so it's good to see everybody. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having Gwen. I'd like to thank her for coming to talk about the backyard hens. I also want to lend my support for the idea of revisiting the ordinance for background hens. So the ordinance in question, it's 10454F. If you have an acre or more, there's pretty much no restrictions as to what fowl, it just uses the term fowl you can have, or how many, or there's no oversight. If you have 0.99 acres, or in my case, 0.5 acres, that number drops to exactly 0. So I think there's what we're looking for is some reasonable, sort of in between. You know, I don't think we're asking for just have at it, no oversight. I think oversight is still a good thing here. But I think, you know, there is a reasonable in between. Like Gwen says, it doesn't take a lot of property to raise a small number of chickens. Lumberton also allows backyard hens. They do have a graduated scale. So if your property is a certain square footage, you can have so many hens, you know, and it kind of goes up as your property gets bigger. That seems kind of reasonable to me. You know, and also I think the class is an excellent idea, so people know how to take care of them, what the requirements are, you know, how to keep them cooped up, and so they're not running around like the stray cats that we see all the time. I guess in closing here, I just want to say thank you for entertaining this idea, and, you know, hopefully we can work together to get something that works for everybody. Also, you know, since we're asking the town for something, I think the township, you know, a licensing fee would be reasonable, so the township gets something out of it as well. You know, I think that's a reasonable thing to invoke to make sure people are serious about it. All right, thank you for your time, appreciate it.
Thank you.
See you.
Thank you.
Louis, did you have your hand up earlier?
Good evening, name's Louis Lipper. I'm a resident of Mohali, New Jersey. I have two questions. The presentation B, what's that located at? It's closed or the silent?
No, it's behind the propane, Allen's Propane, next to Hainesport Auto and Truck on Route 38.
Oh, okay. Thank you for clarifying that for me. And resolution, the very last one, 2023-91-7. Can you tell me more about it?
You talking about the 88-7?
91-7,
Oh,
the
no,
last one.
okay. Show fundraiser, yes, the
Fundraiser?
yeah, they're having a fundraiser for the benefit, the 100th year anniversary, to raise money for that.
Okay. It was nice meeting your family at the Burger King. It was so nice.
Okay, thank you, Louis. Anybody else? Okay, with that, I will close this portion of public comments, and then we're on to ordinances. Ordinance 2023-6, amending Chapter 104 of the Code of Township of Hainesport, entitled Rental Property to establish requirements for lead-based paint hazards. This is public hearing and final adoption. So can I get a motion to open up the public hearing on this? Do we get a motion on this first?
I'll move to open the public hearing.
And get a second?
Second?
Mrs. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mayor Klaus?
Yes. Okay, does anybody have any comments on this?
Hang on a sec, I'm getting a text from a resident who is saying that they wanted to speak in the last public comment section, but they weren't asked and they are muted. I do,
They can speak at the end.
they said they were muted, they couldn't.
Do you want to have them speak at the end during public comment?
And that's up
Is it
to-
an agenda, or they can always speak at the
They
end if
wanted
they
to
missed
speak
it?
on the
Yeah.
chicken ordinance, I
Yeah,
think.
they can always,
speak on that.
they can speak at the end when we
Yeah.
have it again.
Just to be clear, I don't have them forcibly muted.
Okay.
They can unmute themselves and participate.
Okay.
And I hesitate before I close, waiting for, so, okay. Anybody in the public have any questions on this? Nope. Any committee people? With that, I'm going to have a motion to adopt, final adoption. Can I get a motion?
So move.
Second?
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mrs. Evans?
Yes.
Mayor Klaus?
Yes. Okay, we got consent agendas.
Oh, hang on. I thought we had something else that we had to, an ordinance. No, that's right. I want to remove something from the consent agenda. I'm sorry,
Okay.
I'm being a bit feisty today, aren't I?
I'm sorry, what?
I'd like to remove something from the consent agenda for discussion.
We could discuss it, if you want to make it.
I thought I had
Which item do you
permission
want
to, like,
on the
remove
consent?
it from-
What item don't you want to group together? What do you want?
What item would I like to discuss in a public meeting as is our right? 2023-91-7.
What? 91?
D, letter D under the consent, right?
Yeah.
Yep,
For the
the fashion show.
you want removed, so we can't, okay.
I just want to discuss it.
Okay, that's fine, but then let's do the other consent agendas. Anybody got a problem if we put A, B, and C together? No? Okay, can we get a motion for Resolution 2023-887, a motion for 89-7 and 90-7?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mayor Klaus?
Yes. Okay, I guess we're going to discuss, let's get a motion to
I think-
approve 23-91-7, and then we'll discuss it when we get the motion.
Is that how it works? Then we discuss
Can we?
first?
Yeah, you need, so that way it's on the table as
Oh, okay.
a question on the motion.
Okay, so a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Okay,
I would
now
like to
discussion.
discuss it.
Well, okay.
Yeah, we're allowing, yeah.
Okay, okay. What would you like to say?
So first, this is put on as a fundraiser, okay? And I was looking at the contract with Bradford Estates, and it's for 125 people, and they are charging us approximately $25 a head, correct? And so my one question was, how are we making money out of this? Are we going to be charging residents $50 a head to attend? Because it seems to me that it's not going to make any money unless we basically, it's not going to make a significant amount of money unless we basically double the price of the fee, right? Is that, what's the plan? Is that the plan?
Frankly, the plan isn't just to make money, it's also to bring highlight to our 100th anniversary
Right, well,
celebration.
see, that's where my other question comes in, like, and I mean, I have some issues here because we have a lot of residents for whom even a $25 meal would be completely out of the question. And when you add on to that the fact that they probably want to go with their husband, they probably want to have a babysitter, you're looking at, you've basically eliminated a whole bunch of people from being able to take advantage of this opportunity. And I think part of the problem is that, with all due respect, and I totally appreciate the hard work that's gone on, but there isn't enough diversity on the various committees that are planning these events, right? They're mostly from District 2 and District 3, they're mostly older, they're mostly quite well off, and we're really not, like, taking into account a bunch of our people when we plan these events.
Is this the only fundraising event we're having with
No.
this type of thing?
How many people did you say, Anna?
125, it's in
That's
the...
a very small number, I'm sure that'll sell out very quickly.
But that's kind of may sell out very quickly, but there are a bunch of people in Hainsport who will look at that price ticket and go, you
But
gotta
there are
hit it.
more events that will be happening
That'll-
throughout the year
Okay.
in celebration
But I-
that either have
But this
little
is the
cost or
first-
no cost.
this
But
is the
not
first
everybody will go to every event.
Right, but this is the first one that's come up to, and you wanted to pass it as a consent agenda without even talking about this issue.
No, you can talk, that's what you
I
asked to do
know,
it,
but
you
what I'm
did.
saying is, like, now you're saying, oh, there's going to be lots of other more inclusive events,
there
and like
are.
free events, but this is the only one that's come up so far. So I
Because
think
this one has a contract
Right,
on it
and I
that
understand
needs to
that,
be signed.
but I think it's important to actually discuss it in public, which is, this is a public meeting, that's what we're supposed to do, so that people who want to know, who are listening or in the audience, understand that that's what's being planned at this point in time, and also that there are other future events coming down the track that are more inclusive and free, right? If I hadn't opened this and taken it out of consent agenda, this discussion would not be open to the public, and they would not know this, right? I think it's important that
No,
we...
they would find
They
out
would
when
find
they,
out, yeah.
as they come up.
But they
Everything
wouldn't
is
know
in
it
the
now.
planning stage.
They wouldn't, yeah, but
But this is the first thing that has come up in the planning stage that needs a deposit
I understand that, but I guess I
Because the
err,
Bradford Estates,
So
if
nobody's
you're familiar
trying to
with it,
keep
it's
anything
much in
secret.
advance.
I err on the side of communication with the
Okay.
residents and making sure that the residents are coming along with us as we plan for the 100-year celebration.
Right.
And this is me trying to do that, that's all. This is me trying to make sure everyone knows that that's a
Okay.
thing, this is a thing, and this is exactly what it's going to be, and there are going to be other things coming along that are inclusive, diverse, free, for a younger demographic, et cetera, et cetera. I just wanted to make sure that that is being talked about, because it's important. We don't just consist of middle-aged and old rich people in District 2 and
That's why
Liverpool.
they're-
I got a problem with the cost, okay? When you say
That's not-
$25, have you been out to eat lately? I'm going to tell you, you can't go to any restaurant, even in Hainesport, with a spouse and have a meal and not
Right.
spend $80. So I don't,
And I'm telling you that there are people in Hainesport who never go out to eat.
well, then they probably wouldn't go to this
And
event.
Bradford Estates may not be the place to go eat. You know, there are certain places that people would go to eat based on what they can afford, and that doesn't mean that we need to alienate anyone, but there are certain events that are going to, that some people may be more open to than others. And if you've been to Bradford Estates, that's not going to be a place that's going to be inexpensive. So it is what it is, and because of that, plans need to be made early on to get that reservation. This is one of the few places in Hainesport that can hold this type of event. And we're not saying that we're not having any others, and we're not saying we're only limiting it to certain types of people or anything like that at all. It's just, we're basically trying to get things going, and it's a nice event, it's a nice affair, it's a fundraiser, and it's just not for everybody. I just don't see what the...
It's a good thing it's not for everybody, it's only 125 people.
Right, it's just not everyone's going to be able to make
Oh,
it.
6,000.
If I could also make a suggestion, because I've, dealt with these concerns in my prior position, if somebody would like to, an organization would like to sponsor people to attend these that could otherwise not be able to afford it, that is available to anybody who feels, that it might alienate people. This is a fundraiser, so of course it wouldn't be free, but there are going to be other fundraisers coming up, T-shirt sales we've talked about a lot of other opportunities, and, but of course, this whole event, all the different things that we have planned for 100th anniversary cannot just be free. We have to raise some money for some of the costs associated with it. But if any organization wants to sponsor anybody who maybe could not afford the ticket, that is an opportunity that is available for these people. Just a suggestion.
It's a great idea.
Let me keep in mind, it is a fundraiser. I haven't been to too many fundraisers where I spend less than $100 a ticket, truthfully, so.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second.
Okay, we need a
Need a
motion to
vote?
accept, oh, we already have a motion and a second? We get a vote?
We do.
You need a vote.
Okay.
I made the
Sorry.
motion. I made the
Thank
motion, Ken second.
I'll second.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mrs. Evans?
Yes.
Mayor Klaus?
Yes. Okay, with that, we got approval of the business
We have
licenses?
another
Oh,
resolution to add to the agenda,
Okay.
if you would. It was sent over yesterday.
Yesterday.
Was that the consent, or was that for the
The
regular?
resolution, yes, consenting to the waterfront.
It's 2023-94-7, it's in the folder with the orange tab.
Yeah, so it's a follow-up to a resolution that was adopted last year. It is for that, senior development. And the committee had already done a resolution to consider an easement. This is because the discharge ultimately goes into the creek, they need a waterfront development permit. And we don't meet again until August, and they're trying to move this thing. Now, if you approve this resolution, it is not granting them any rights in the property, we're not giving them the easement. This simply says, we own property which is impacted by this proposed infrastructure for stormwater. We consent to your going to the DEP. we're not approving anything, we're not the land use board, we're not giving you an easement, but we are saying it's our property, and yes, you can go ahead and make the application. That's all this does. So if you're okay with that, first motion would be to add 94-7 to the agenda.
So we're allowing them to
Make an application.
make an application, is what we're doing.
Yeah.
Is this the same concern where we had a resident who was concerned about the original application where it was going into the lake?
Correct.
At Lakeside, right?
Yep.
And now it's going through,
Does not go into that development. Does not go
through
into-
Creekton Park and into the Rancocas Creek?
You got,
But the DEP will have a good look at that and see
have
if that is, okay, all right.
I'll make a motion to add.
94-7?
Correct.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Get a roll
Mrs.
call?
Gilmore?
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mrs. Evans?
Yes.
Mayor Klaus?
Yes. Okay.
a motion to adopt would be in order.
What's that?
A motion to adopt the resolution would now be in order.
Okay, so now
I'll
we
make
need a
the
motion to adopt resolution.
So move.
Second?
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mrs. Evans?
Yes.
Mayor Klaus?
Yes. Okay, businesses. Let's go approve the business licenses, and can we do them all together? And approval of the charity clothing bin licenses?
Yeah.
Okay. Gonna get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve both the business and the charitable clothing bin licenses.
I'll second.
Get a vote?
Mrs. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mayor Klaus?
Yes. Okay, comments from the public.
Did
Okay.
we pull this one? 2023-88-7? Did that get pulled?
No.
Oh, that was, it
That was the
That
first
was the
one.
GIF?
All right, it got
That was what she
consent. It got, in my book,
No.
it was in a different spot. I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay, we got comments from the public, limited to 5 minutes. If you want to put your hands up, and I'll call on you.
You want to allow the individual online?
Oh, sure.
an opportunity?
Well, they're here as the public, yes, sure. If they want to speak now, we'll let them go first.
I don't know which one, a caller one or caller two. If you wanted to provide a public comment on the agenda item from earlier, now's your time. You can unmute yourself.
If you're speaking, we cannot hear you.
No, they're still muted, so.
And you can't unmute them because they seem to think they can't
I'm
unmute
not, I
themselves?
don't, no, I can keep them muted, but I don't have the option to unmute them, so it's on, it's their, the ball's in their court. Yeah, I can't. No. All right. Oh.
Okay, anybody else for public comment? Kitty?
Catherine McNellis, 407 Bischoff Avenue, Hainesport. I'd like to start out by reading something that was in your Hainesport Township paper here. It says that, as always, if any of you have questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to reach out to myself or any member of our committee. After all, we are here to serve you. And that is exactly why you're here. And I would really appreciate it. I left a message for all the committee people. I am now the Vice President of the Senior Citizens because Tish has been so busy. She's got a lot of family issues, and so she's been trying to going to call you and try to set up a meeting. So I called you and tried to, but apparently. But anyway, I would like, if anybody on this committee, Leila,
Yes.
Mr. Montgomery, Anna, Jerry, could come to our meeting, and Bruce, on Thursday at 12 o'clock. Paula Kotsko, you also, and maybe Donna. and sit down and try to get this thing straightened out. Unless we talk it out and you understand where we stand, and then we can, I just can't see how you can say to us that this is Donna Casey's building and she can do anything she wants. Now, that's what you've told me about 6 times, Jeremy.
No, I never said that.
Yes, you certainly did.
No, I said she's in charge of
It's
recreation.
her building, and she can do anything she wants.
I'm
That's
not
what
gonna
you've
continue
told me.
this. Okay, you
And that's
finish
not
talking.
how it's supposed, it's
Finish talking.
supposed to be a community center. So if any of you could come at 12 o'clock, it would be greatly appreciated.
This is Thursday, this coming Thursday?
This next Thursday, yes. It's our senior citizen meeting day,
The 13th?
2 days from now.
Right, okay.
If I may interject and say that only one other committee person may attend this. If it was more than 2, it'll be a violation of the Sunshine Law.
I could attend, but obviously I will defer to...
As long as I come in here and ask questions and everybody just sits up there and goes, duh, it's never going to be resolved.
I will defer to Jerry or Leila, Jerry is the mayor and Leila is the senior citizens liaison, but otherwise I will come along with Ken.
Thank you. Also, I would like to ask Paula, I understand you took up a collection at the community day and got stuff for veterans. Is that true?
I was not here for Community Day. I didn't make a collection for veterans.
You didn't, nobody took up a collection for
I didn't
veterans?
personally.
No, I'm not asking you if you did. I'm
actually,
saying, did somebody take up a collection?
No, that is what you asked. You asked me if I took up
Because
a
I've tried
collection.
to take up a collection out here for 15 years, and it was all good until you didn't like the box I had out there.
Okay, the box is still
And then you
here.
got 2 plastic containers for the other people that had stuff out there.
Right.
But you never got a plastic container for the veterans. But you did tell me, but don't worry, Kitty. If I get anything for the veterans, you will know about it. I went for years and years to Veterans Haven. I still go, but I buy all the stuff. But would be nice if I could get some help with it.
Well, we wanted to provide that opportunity to Mr. Lontoc and the veterans that he represents also to do a collection for his organization that represents veterans.
Why is it okay for the other 2 things, but not for me?
Just as it was afforded to you with your bin out there, we provided that opportunity to Mr. Lontoc and his veterans as well. And your box is still here, and if anybody comes in and specifically says they want to donate
If
to
you
your
don't say
veterans, I
something-
put it in there.
You're not going to bring anything in here for no veteran if there's nothing out there that says this is a collection box for the veterans.
A lot of
We've
people
had this
came
big
in
thing over
from what was on
Veterans
social
Day.
media.
I
A lot of people
understand
did donate.
For 2 years, it's been at the firehouse.
What has?
2 years, Veterans Day has been over at the firehouse.
I think it was at the street center, at the community center, yes.
No, the 21 that took our day at the street building. And I just like to get some of these things straightened out, because I feel like, I don't know, I moved here in 1953, and I've done everything I can for this township that I can help any way I can, even giving blood, 9 gallons now. And all I get is when I ask anything. So please, if anybody can make it to our meeting, it would definitely be really appreciated.
Thank you, Kitty.
Okay, anybody else? Louis?
Good evening. My name is Louis Lopez. I'm a resident of Mount Holly. I just want to thank you, Evan, for clarifying more at the last resolution. Thank you, appreciate for explaining that more in depth. Second is, it was nice to see you. Finally said, you related to that guy from Hainsport? I said, yeah, that's him. But you see him, say hi. My name is Louis. It was funny. I said, then second is Hampshire going to build more warehouses or in the future, we'd like to see more green like green space, like trails more. I would like to see, from Mount Holly to Hinsdale, from Hinsdale to Mount Holly, I would like to see, unless there's funding from the state, it can help that. To see trail, to cross connection with other towns. And what's the status of the warehouse by the bypass? Is it still occupied? Is any?
We don't own it. I'm sure.
I
don't know what the status, I don't know if it has a CO yet or not, I don't know.
It's not?
No,
Oh.
I'd have to check on the construction office. I don't know that.
I'm just curious. And the train tracks. Could we get like some kind of trail or is that still your property or is that the railroad?
The train tracks?
Yeah.
That belongs to Conrail and the railroad. That's a federal, we have no authority over that whatsoever.
If some poor available car, we have to ask them permission, right?
I would say good luck with that. It's hard to get anything with the railroad.
So you agree no more warehouse for Hinksport, right?
No, I didn't say that.
Let's say more warehouse, more cutting trees, less global warming. I mean, we like to see more or less, more green space. No, I'm just giving my opinion.
Well, we'd all like to see more green space, but unfortunately, we don't own the properties, so.
Okay, I appreciate it, thank you for having me as a guest. Guest number, July 13th is the next planning board in Hinksport, everybody to come. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Louis. Anyone else? Deborah Harris.
Thank you for the introduction. 7 Elsinore Drive, using my courtroom voice. A couple of announcements from the Hainesport Democrats. So for these announcements, I will be up here as the chair of the Hainesport Democrats. The first is that the Hainesport Democrats will be holding a meet and greet on Thursday, August 31st at 7 p.m. at the Kenneth E. Street Community Center. Special guests will include Burlington County Commissioner Balbir Singh, the LD8 Democratic candidates, and of course myself, Deborah Harris, and Bob Mode, who are running in for Hainesport Township Committee. All ages are welcome, and details are available on our Facebook page. The second announcement that I have is that the Hainesport Democrats are sponsoring a movie for the Township 2023 Movie in the Park series. Thank you, Donna, for your help in coordinating that. We're sponsoring Lyle Crocodile. Super excited about that, which will be shown on Friday, September 29th at dusk. So I don't know what time that is, but I'm sure Donna will let us know. Mark your calendars. We hope to see you there. My daughter loved that movie, so I'm sure the kids will love it as well. On an unrelated question, and this is probably going to be for Mr. Gillespie, so heads up there. The document called Notice to Property Owners or Agencies, sent out when an applicant has applied to the Joint Land Use Board for a variance, contains the following sentence. The public may inspect all documents relating to this application during normal business hours in the office of the Secretary of the Board in the Township Municipal Building. When I recently tried to view the documents, I found that if the primary person responsible for the document is not present, there's not necessarily a backup. So there's no backup person. And I wound up actually having to schedule a time to view the documents. So I just want confirmation if what the process actually is, if perhaps the language needs to be corrected, or maybe there is actually a backup person for this process, or maybe the process itself needs to be changed. Also, and I'm just gonna ad lib here. So you might not be able to comment on this one because you're a town solicitor, but for Chesterfield. So in Old York v. Chesterfield Township, which I'm going to have to check the cases and see if it's still pending. You would probably know, but I know you can't comment on it. The issue is rehabilitation versus redevelopment, and the statute, what the definition is of rehabilitation versus redevelopment. Rehabilitation, it's argued, encourages renovation or reconstruction of existing structures and allows a municipality to offer tax abatements on improvements. redevelopment permits mainly new construction with some rehabilitation as well as setting land aside for streets, parks, and other public needs. So this is actually a suit now that's either in the works, pending, in a township where Mr. Gillespie is also a solicitor, that is basically arguing, well, what exactly is the definition of redevelopment versus rehabilitation? So this is not yet settled law.
Well, thank you. Is there anybody else? Yes.
No introduction.
Oh, Karen, come on up.
Hello, my name's Karen Torty, 4 Easton Way. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Mrs. Paula Costco King on her recent nuptials. I am sure we all wish you many joys and much happiness. Okay, in serving our community and county, I will be volunteering at the farm fair next week, starting on Monday, working on registrations, and I will be also there in other areas during the week. Also, in further support of our community, Ken Montgomery and I are happy to be sponsoring the July 30th concert in the park, featuring the Tucanee Creek Bluegrass Band. They will perform classic bluegrass and country hits, as well as pop tunes from the 30s, 40s, 50s, and rock and roll from the 60s. Please come out and join us on July 30th, as well as enjoying all the other Sunday evening concerts from now until the end of August. And just please note that the Coots Band concert that was rained out on Sunday evening will be rescheduled in a later date in August. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else? Okay, Mrs. Casey, Donna, come on up.
Donna Casey, 1702 Cottage Street, the Recreation Director. I thought that I would come and share with you some of the things that I've done since I came on board as the Recreation Director 4 years ago. We were asked to add a few more activities to our schedule, and so we did. At the complex, we worked with the Hainesport Boy Scout to establish a township hero banner program for an Eagle Scout. And it grew over the last 3 years. We've had many more banners added to that, as you all can see when you walk around the park. I've got lots and lots of wonderful compliments, and I already had someone call me about putting a banner up for next year. So it has become quite popular. This event starts on Memorial Day. We have a wonderful ceremony out here. We have many organizations that's really grown the Memorial Day event. And then after the Veterans Appreciation Dinner, which we had held at the Community Street Center, and the last 2 years, because it has grown, we now hold it at the firehouse. So we do show appreciation for our veterans all around. We celebrated Earth Day with many wonderful contributions from the Harbor Baptist Academy Art Program, the Hainesport Environmental Commission, the Township Recycling Coordinator, Star Child Nature School, the Burlington County Library, and members of our preschool story time team were there with crafts and stories, which books were read by Anna Evans. Thank you, Mrs. Evans. We began a Community Wellness Day event with the Jefferson School of Nursing and other local professionals in the medical field. These events have grown, and this last event was amazing, I have to tell you. Many, many people came out. We figured there had to be at least 1,500 to 2,000 people that attended that event that day. When COVID kept everyone inside, we continued our Concerts in the Park series, Movies in the Park, and we implemented the Fall Food Truck and Antique Car Festival, adding a scarecrow contest last year, which we will be doing again this year, open to the residents. We had to move tree lighting with Mr. and Mrs. Claus outside, beginning with a parade with the fire company and the New Jersey State Police. We had entertainment, we had games, and we had refreshments. We also had to change the Easter egg hunt with the distribution of eggs in bags, and this event is also preceded by a small parade. We continue to have our concerts in the park and have added more movies in the park. We end the season with a trunk or treat event. This is held in the parking lot out here on the side and is sponsored by the township staff, the EMS, fire company, the New Jersey State Police, and area businesses. In February, we sponsored a Have a Heart to Give shoebox for the area homeless residents. We collected over 150 boxes that were distributed through the First Presbyterian Church in Mount Holly. We continue to collect throughout the year non-perishable food for our local food bank for our Cans of Hope campaign. The Hainesport School also is involved in this and helps out twice a year. We are working on our 4th annual Gingerbread House Contest event, coordinating with the Hainesport Volunteer Fire Company. Storytime, crafts, and the public judges the gingerbread houses. We have our preschool storytime program that we begin again in September. We will hold our 4th annual First Responders Appreciation event on October 27th, 2023. Thanks to Dr. Betty Forbes, we have also begun having a flu clinic at the Street Center. First 2 were sponsored by the Acme Pharmacy. This year, Stein's Apothecary will hold the clinic on October 19th from 11 to 2 p.m. And they will not only do flu shots, but they will have other shots available, and that will be listed in the flyer. We also sponsor a Halloween house decorating contest, a holiday house decorating contest. The Burlington County Library held classes for seniors in the Street Center to improve their skills on the computer and cell phones. Working with the chairperson of the local Senior Citizens Club, we have had various businesses come to the Kenneth Street Community Center once a month to present different programs to help the senior group and encourage new membership. Examples, Chefs for Seniors. They talked about in-home food service. JAG1 Physical Therapy discussed balance. 3D PT came and talked about arthritis. The Burlington County Sheriff's Department came and discussed home safety tips and handed out quite a lot of tchotchkes, as I call them. And our own fire marshal came and discussed fire safety in the home. The response was very good. We had a bus trip of historical sites in Burlington County, ending with a nice meal in Bordentown. It was such a hit, we've been requested to do another one. We're hoping to coordinate another one within the year. We just had a trip down to the Tropicana AC for a show, which was fantastic, and everyone seemed to enjoy themselves. We are presently working on our 5th annual adult dinner dance. It's September 22nd, and that will be held at the Firehouse. Our 2023 summer tennis program has begun. If you're interested, fill out a registration form and bring the check into the recreation office. We'll be happy to take it. Mr. Johnson is always looking for new people. So after saying all that, going forward, we are working diligently on our 100th anniversary. The committees and subcommittees have been formed, and they are working on the township's history, a driving, walking tour of historical sites, entertainment, guest speakers, a tea and fashion show, 100 Years of Fashion. Book the date, March 3rd, 2024. Also, a themed dance for some of the teens in our township. We will be utilizing the Street Community Center with artifacts, photos, and much more. And the highlight of our year will be a huge event held on June 1st, 2024. Okay?
Thank you, Donna, we appreciate it.
You're welcome.
You've been busy. Okay, is there anyone else? Yes, go on up.
Hello, can you hear me?
She could go
Oh,
after.
yeah, you should tell her she'll be next, yes.
Hi, you'll be next. There's somebody at the podium.
Good evening, Mayor Klaus, members of the committee. My name is Leonard Ciccatello. I live at 215 Devon Lane in Hainesport. I'd just like to make a brief statement to address a matter that was mentioned during last month's committee meeting. It had to do with health care benefits for past committees. And it became apparent that only partial information was presented. In government, policies are considered acceptable until they are no longer deemed so. In fact, health care benefits for elected officials in all New Jersey towns were once considered normal and customary. It was a practice that was implemented to encourage individuals to run for elected office. However, it's important to note that this policy was discontinued during the Christie administration. Please recognize that these benefits were offered and availed by towns all over the state, regardless of whether they were run by Republicans or Democrats. In government, certain policies can sometimes be considered acceptable until they're not. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anybody else? Karen?
Sorry, I didn't ask to come up and say something.
Okay.
Karen Torty, 4 Easton Way. On behalf of the Hainesport Republican Club, I am being asked to mention that we are having a fundraiser at the Trenton Thunder on August 26th at 6:30 p.m. Tickets are $35, and they include all your entrees, hamburgers, cheeseburgers, hot dogs, chicken tenders, veggie burgers, potato salad, garden salad, mac and cheese, watermelon, chips, pretzels, cookies, fountain soda, and water. So we will have reserved seats at the comfortable picnic tables. We were going to have an all-you-can-eat buffet. You can see your group name on the video board and special group rates on merchandise, and there will also be fireworks. And I am happy to say that I believe some people are stepping up and purchasing tickets that we will be able to donate to some children in the area. So if anybody would like to support our fundraiser, we would welcome all people. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we got somebody online?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hey, everybody, good evening, hi. So I'm Diane Behiri, I live at 7 Melody Court in Hainesport, New Jersey. And the reason why I called into this meeting, I apologize, I'm not able to meet in person, I'm still working, so my sincere apologies. But the purpose is because I do have a deed of easement restriction on my property, and one of the restrictions that I'm concerned about is this is what is recorded in the county clerk's office, that I am responsible for the structures of the basin. I own a property where I do have a basin, a retention basin. This actually supports 16 homes where there's water flowing to the basin. And on my restriction document for my deed, for my property, that I and myself and my neighbor, we are responsible for the structure of the basin, for the storm drain pipes, for if the basin should fail or it stop working, for the structure, that we are responsible to fix that, which will cost us maybe $100,000 more to fix if the structure fails. The other issue I want to talk to you about also, we are responsible for every 10 years to have an excavation to be done, which means all of the debris or everything that's in that basin to be removed in the basin, which is landscape would charge me $40,000, $50,000 to do. So I just want to bring this to your attention. This was approved by the Hainesport Township Planning Board. They approved a site plan with Bruce Packer on the builder for 2 homeowners to be responsible to fix the structure of a basin, to be responsible to excavate the entire basin. So I know Paula requested for me to send this document. I do have a hard copy of it. And again, I apologize, but I'm planning to drop this off to the township regarding this restriction that's recorded in the county clerk's office.
Did we lose her?
No.
Okay. Is there anything else, ma'am?
Well, okay, so I will send a copy of the document.
Okay.
Okay, is that it?
Well, I was just concerned that the township, as you all know, the law mandated by the state of New Jersey, a homeowner should not be responsible for a structure of a basin, nor for in sort of the maintenance to remove any sort of debris or anything that's in the basin. Where the basin ends, to be very clear, my landscape company, they're maintaining wherever the basin ends, that's my responsibility. I get that. We are, myself and my neighbor, we are maintaining where the basin ends. Where the water flow ends, that is our responsibility. And this is really mandated by the state of New Jersey. It's the law that a homeowner should not have a restriction on their deed for a basin to be the responsibility for the structure if the structure fails. This is like $100,000 plus for that liability on the homeowner. Now, and again, this is recorded on my deed. So it is really, if I want to sell the property, it will show up on the deed that I am responsible for the structure of the basin. I'm responsible to remove the excavate and remove all that debris in the basin every 10 years. This basin is huge. It's a huge responsibility for this to be put on two homeowners that it was never, should have been put in place only if the planning board would follow the DEP rule and regulation that's mandated by the state of New Jersey. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention. And obviously, as I stated before, I'm just gonna confirm that mowing the basin where it ends, we are responsible for that. Where the basin ends is a homeowner's responsibility, and we're okay with that. And also the solicitor, I don't know if he's still there or not, but Mr. Gillespie, he's still a solicitor of the township. He had already prepared the documentation for me. Hello?
We're listening, yes.
Yes, Mr. Gillespie had already prepared the documentation for myself and my neighbor to sign it, but the last administration, before your administration, the previous mayor was Tony Porto, and it was retracted after we were about to sign it. And I'm trying to understand, it's not a big deal, it was retracted, but we were okay to sign it. But guys, the law of the land is, this should not be a homeowner's responsibility for this to be in my deed, for me to be responsible for the structure of the basin. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to comment. I dialed in earlier. I was on a teleconference. I was trying to speak, but the system just muted me. I was in a conference since 6:35 p.m. today, but the system just muted me. It didn't allow me to speak to the public comments. I appreciate the feedback. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad you got in.
Thanks, Diane.
Thank you so much. And I want to say one more thing. I'm very blessed to be in this township. I must say that you guys are doing a great job. The community members, the mayor, the parks and everything is so beautiful in the township is. I'm so happy to be, living in this community. Again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Kitty?
I just want to mention that the disabled door is still not working, going in and out.
Didn't we just try it?
Then
We tried it right before the meeting.
Working.
Huh? It what?
It's working.
Why didn't it work when I tried to come in at 2 minutes to stick?
Well, actually, if I can address what's been going on, and I'm actually quite proud of the fact that we figured out the problem. So,
yeah.
and actually, was not figured out by many prior administrations. So this building is operated by a carry door system, which is a computerized system. We have to put in a schedule at the beginning of every year as to when the building has to open and close. We anticipate holidays, we anticipate our work schedule. So it was never set up for these meetings because it would require a second building open and close time, and we don't know a finite end time for our meetings, right? For the governing body meetings, the committee meetings, and the land use board meetings. We don't know when the meetings are going to end, unlike we know when our operating hours are opening and closing. So what we've done is we've gone in and we have created a second schedule for both the committee meetings and the land use board meetings, trying to anticipate a reasonable close time so that we're not out of here and the building's left wide open. And we've put that in the system. So now the building automatically opens. What we were doing was bypassing the carry door system. So the system thought that it was still closed, which doesn't engage the handicap button. If the building thinks it's closed, then the handicap system won't work. But now that we have it scheduled as an open and close time, it does.
Why did the door open?
It should have opened for you today. I'll check it with you. Actually, when we're done, we'll do it together.
The button
Okay.
times, and I had to open the door to come in.
Okay, we'll do it together.
I'm not a liar.
I know you're not, but we'll do it together.
So don't tell me it's fixed, because it's not working.
Okay.
It's not working.
All right, well, we'll try it together.
Okay. Any other comments? With that, I will close public comment. Okay, let's get any comments from the administrator?
I do. Thank you. So, as everybody in the world knows, put it out there again for the millionth time, the Thomas Dambo Way of the Bird King Troll Sculpture build at Creek Turn Park was a huge success. The actual build began Monday, June 19th, and ended Wednesday, June 28th, with a quaint unveiling by Thomas Dambo and his team. His builders, volunteers from Hainesport, surrounding communities near and far, and support from many of our local businesses. Big Rusty, a 20-foot sculpture made of wood, pallets, and parts of the abandoned pottery buildings that she is leaning on, is now a permanent resident in Hainesport Township. So as you know, as we all know, the project has put Hainesport on Thomas Dambo's world map of over 100 troll sculptures from all over the world. So the township embarked on this creative endeavor with the Silk family over 2 years ago, leveraging a donation from the Blue Water Property Group only several months ago to fund the project, to fund most of it. Despite the visitors accessing the closed park, many are respecting the gate and attached park closed sign. Accordingly, we have a lot of work to do with the area and the grounds around the sculpture. The Environmental Commission is coordinating a park cleanup this Friday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., and we do need volunteers ages 6 and up to assist. Please email creekturn@jklfamily.com to pre-register and answer any questions related to the cleanup. Supplies and refreshments will be provided, and I will be there along with my husband to come out and volunteer. Yes,
Ages 6 or?
16. Did I say 6? 16.
Okay.
That's weird. Did I say husband? More importantly, did I say husband? I did. So weird. So we do ask only those ages 16 and up be actually on the site and there to volunteer. It's going to be manual labor. We will be providing the supplies and the tools, but that email is going to the head of the Environmental Commission, and she'll be able to answer any questions for you. So, and I do want to thank everybody for all their support and their help with this. You know, it's a great way to get us pushed in the direction to finally get this park going and the plans going for the park. Obviously, COVID kind of put everything on the back burner, and it's been difficult getting momentum, and I think this really is going to provide us with the needed momentum to get that passive park project going. So we're looking forward to that.
And Paula, people just can't show up, right? They need to
No,
register to help.
Yeah, it needs to be a controlled environment. We're trying, you know, with everything with this project, we're trying to keep it as controlled as possible.
Yeah.
Plus, we have waivers that needs to be signed and executed, and, you know, we need to gauge the number of volunteers
Right.
that we have.
Yeah, so we love volunteers, want to encourage volunteers all to help, but we just need to go through some protocol from a
Sure.
risk perspective and just
Yeah.
a control perspective that,
Yep.
with everything else we do, yeah.
Thank you. So far, also, I have received 7 100th anniversary logo submissions to date, and to remind everybody that the contest will end on July 16th. So please push that out, and we encourage more people to participate. RFPs for engineering work for the municipal hockey rink went out on July 3rd and are due back on July 28th, and I do plan on making a recommendation of award to you at the August meeting, so that capital project is underway.
I have a question, clarification. It's to enter the 100-year logo, is it it's for Hainesport residents? Is it can former Hainesport residents participate, or is it just current? And sorry to put you on the spot with this, I just
I
want
don't know
to
if
be
I have all
clear.
the
We're coming down to the
parameters.
wire.
Do you remember?
I think it's Hainesport residents.
Yeah, so it's current. Yeah,
current.
that's what I thought, yes.
Check the,
It just popped up in my head, so by the time I looked at the app, the meeting would be over.
Yeah, I mean, the guidelines are online. They're available on
Yeah,
the website.
exactly, yeah.
And on the app, if you want to check it out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks,
John,
Paul.
from our solicitor comments.
There were a couple of, I guess, questions or comments posed that, do you want me to respond to them regarding?
Yeah, I think it's fine. Yes.
All right.
Great.
So I'll go in reverse order. With regard to Ms. Bahari and the basin, I recall that situation. That was 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. It was a while ago. And it was fully investigated. I don't recall what documentation I had prepared that they were about to sign when the Township Committee retracted it. I have no idea what that was. I'll look it up. But I do recall that we had numerous discussions about this, that we physically inspected these basins on a number of occasions, that we had discussions with the DEP. Did they come here?
We actually had a formal meeting.
We had a meeting with the DEP about this. And at the end of the day, it is the homeowner's responsibility. They bought the property. The covenant was in their title. It's not like they bought it and found out later, oh my gosh, I didn't know I was responsible for this basin. It's a recorded restrictive covenant. That is the responsibility. I am not aware of any New Jersey law that says basins can't be or shouldn't be the responsibility of the homeowner. Certainly makes sense. That's why sometimes you have homeowners associations that are responsible. But it's not always the municipality that's responsible. And the way this development was submitted, applied for, and approved, can't blame the Joint Land Use Board. They approved what was submitted. The application sought that, right? I mean, it's these property owners' responsibility. So the request basically is for the taxpayers to assume this responsibility now. And previous committees said, if we don't have to do that, why would we, when the property owners bought it? And whether it's going to cost six figures, as Ms. Bahari thinks it might, I don't know. I can't comment on that. But whatever it costs, that was the benefit of the bargain when she purchased the property. So I'll look for it to see what it was if committee wants me to, but I do recall that this was discussed for almost a year, if I remember correctly.
If Tony was mayor, then it was 2017.
Can you develop on HOA property?
Can you develop an HOA now?
Oh, you'd have to, I suspect you could, but you'd have to have everybody in the development voluntarily agree, as opposed to setting it up in advance where it is a homeowners association and they buy into that.
Well, if she said it's supporting 16 homes in that community, then would it not be a consideration to put forth an effort to try to develop an HOA since it's servicing those 16 houses?
Well, they could, but I'm willing to bet that some of those folks are going to say, no, thank you. I don't want to chip in on that responsibility.
At this point in time.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they can if they wish to share in the expense, because at the end of the day, the argument can be made that they benefit from it, then that's purely a voluntary decision, and if they all agree to it, then they could form it, sign whatever covenants, relieve her of it, but at the end of the day, the township's still going to have to approve that, because the township had to approve, as it did when the development was approved, the stormwater infrastructure.
And developments that have HOAs implemented with
Hey, can I make a comment? Is it
It's not
possible I
coming.
can make a
No,
comment quickly
no.
to respond to that comment? quickly?
Sorry,
We have to let-
sorry, miss, sorry, we only have public speaking.
Okay,
Yeah, sorry.
all right, no worries,
But if
thank
you, but if you'd like to send an email,
I will.
to Paul, if you,
I will.
okay. All right,
Yeah,
thank you.
send an email that the document the township said they'll take care of the structure and all that, but it's not recorded by the county clerk's office. I don't know if you remember whoever's making that comment, that was the agreement.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I'll send it, thank you.
One of the other questions raised this evening was about a notice of a hearing, and it called for, it said that the plans and materials are on file with whoever at this municipal building, and that office wasn't available or wasn't open. Should the notice be changed? The notice shouldn't be changed. The notice follows what the statute says. Happens a lot. Sometimes people aren't in their offices, sometimes people are sick, sometimes the office is closed. You come back the next day, but you don't change the notice. And then the comment about rehabilitation versus redevelopment designation. And I remember Ms. Harris talked about this, I think, at the February meeting. and it may have been, I don't recall specifically, it may have been about the warehouse on Marne Highway and 541 in particular. I do recall there was a term, a phrase that was used. Warehouse sprawl. And the suggestion that calling it rehabilitation when it was really going to be a redevelopment is a bait and switch. I remember those words. And I think I remember you saying that you were following it closely, the case in Chesterfield, which was then pending at the time. And I did handle that case on behalf of Chesterfield. That case involved the former Old York Country Club that had been closed and had been declared to be an area in need of rehabilitation because of the buildings that were on site, or a building that was on site, and the sanitary system, septic system, I think it was. And the township adopted a redevelopment plan that called for an up to 1.3 million square foot warehouse on the property. And neighbors sued over the redevelopment plan, saying that that's not what rehabilitation is. As Ms. Harris said this evening, rehabilitation is this, redevelopment is that. And I had advised the township committee, and I'm not the solicitor anymore, but I am handling the litigation. I had advised the township committee that notwithstanding the characterization of rehabilitation or redevelopment, you can do a redevelopment plan that calls for something new. That case was decided 2 months ago by Judge Covert in the Superior Court, May 15th. She decided the case after oral argument. It is settled law. That redevelopment plan was upheld. The differences between rehabilitation and redevelopment, insofar as the plan is concerned, that's ultimately adopted, is pretty much limited to, as I said earlier, in a redevelopment you can condemn, in a rehabilitation you can't. In a rehabilitation area you can allow a 5-year tax abatement, but nothing more. In a redevelopment you can allow a long-term pilot financial agreement, which is what has been done here with Blue Water and Black Creek on the big warehouses on 38. So I respectfully disagree that it's not settled law. It is settled law. And the rehabilitation designation can give rise to a redevelopment plan that calls for something more than fixing up some windows or repairing a roof. I think those are the things that were directed to my attention this evening.
Okay. Thanks, John. Comments from the committee? Let's go with Anna.
Okay. We have a troll. I love our troll. I had the pleasure of volunteering at the troll build for 4 of the days that the crew was here, and I loved it. I learned how to use a jigsaw and a screw gun, climbed all over, and I just want to make a few thanks and commendations. Public Works were awesome, as they always are, but especially young Andrew Bunting, who worked tirelessly throughout the days that he was assigned to the troll. I'd also like to thank Paula Cosco and Tara. I think you organized the food amazingly. You know, people do get hungry doing physical labor, and the food was always there, it was always timely, it was always delicious. And of course, all the people who donated the food have to be commended too. So that was great. And the opening was super organized and very, very good fun. With also thanks to Guy Hessel for some amazing photos. I will be at the Klima on Friday. I've been rallying for volunteers. Like Paula says, you need to email and register in advance. I'll add my congratulations to Paula for her nuptials, great word, and remind everyone the farm fair is on the July 18th to the 22nd. Now, to respond to some of the things that were said by residents, I am prepared to go to the senior citizen meeting on Thursday at 12. I'll go with one other of you, if whoever wants to go. We need to somehow coordinate so we don't end up with more than 2 of us.
Yeah,
right?
Lee was the coordinator, so.
Okay.
Well, Bob has a PT at 12:15,
I don't know if I'm
and
available.
I'm trying to
Okay.
take the day off.
Well, I mean,
It's 2 days from now, it's noon on the workday, it's difficult, but I certainly will look at my schedule.
okay, well,
If I'm available, I'll let you know, but it's
Okay.
hard for me to tell.
okay.
As long as we only have 2 of us
Right,
there.
well, I can be one of them. is what I'm saying.
Sure. Good, thank you.
And I personally would like to thank Gwen. She's no longer with us, but I do think that we need to at least revisit the idea of the backyard hen ordinance. The one we have is somewhat out of date, even if all we do is amend it slightly. I definitely think it needs to be revisited, and I hope that Gwen is going to be working with Paula and John and the people, the administrative liaisons, to make that happen. And I think that's, oh yeah, one final thing. I do hope to see in the forthcoming 6 months the other inclusive and less expensive events that are being organized for our wonderful 100th anniversary celebration. Thank you.
Okay. Leila?
Just thank everyone for being here, coming out. I'm sorry that some people left early and missed some of the conversation. I too enjoyed greatly watching the troll being built. It was exciting to come back and see it every other day as it grew into her final being. Wanted to remind people about concerts in the park. Although it was rained out last week, hopefully this weekend will not have rain for a change. Save the date, September 22nd for the adult dinner dance. It's Friday from 5 to 9. And to please download the Hainesport app for updated information. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Welcome Rusty, our world-renowned troll. She's a beauty. Thank you, everyone, for your help and your continued help. We have some volunteer opportunities coming up, so please do register. In this month's Hainesport calendar, we have a photo of our new municipal playground. So a lot of work went into that, and I'm really happy we got that taken care of. Also got another compliment on our township newsletter. Just keeps coming, so thank you again to Paula and Tara and staff for doing a great job for that. I also want to thank Paula for her work on yet another grant. We had to amend our budget. We had to amend our budget to add revenue. My goodness. What a wonderful thing. You have to add positive money to the budget. Good stuff. Irene Barry, who was our code enforcement officer, we get all these reports that's in our binder here, and we review all these before the meeting. And she had a 4-page report. I don't remember that long of a report, but she handles the residents with such patience and compassion, and yet she is firm. And she reports and she follows up, and it's a lot of work. And these can be basic things, as the home on the corner that's just not taking care of their property the way they should, or maybe an abandoned building that the people that own it aren't taking care of it. So thank you, Irene Barry. In singling out Irene Barry, it does not mean that I neglect other officers and chair people. I'm just commenting on what she has done. Just like I'm going to say what a great job Donna Casey has done in the Recreation Department. She was real close to the border on how long she had to speak. But thank you for the recreation. And again, by singling out Donna Wynn Casey, I'm not saying the others aren't worthy, or I'm not neglecting them, or I'm not excluding them. I'm just offering compliments to her. The mobile park that's we're trying to help out there, I think it's a great effort to do that, to have affordable housing, to continue and to improve what we have there, I think is a good project. So I'm happy to support that. I'd also want to congratulate Paul on her wedding vows, and in doing so, I'm not excluding others who are having their wedding vows or people who are married. where I'm going with this is because we have a fashion show for 125 people, and it's a fundraiser, and because it may be a little pricier than some others, it doesn't mean that we are excluding others that may not be able to attend that fashion show. We will have many events that will include many free things, but in order to have free things, we need to have fundraisers at certain events to have money. And we thank those people that are going to attend and will spend money in helping to fundraise to make those events and more inclusive events for others as we move along. And these are one of the first things, because the Bradford Estates, which is a wonderful facility, if anyone's been there, weddings and those types of things, and we're very happy they're in our town of Hainesport, and their housing is fashion. So good job for the committee there. And like I said, our 100-year anniversary is for everyone, and includes everyone. The other thing is, in my business career, I've worked for several large organizations, large international organizations. They're public, they're private, they're partnerships, they're family-owned. And every year, we needed to go through a reminder. And some of these things were very obvious, but it's ethics, and it's safety and security, and being mindful of privacy, and those types of things. And I was reading recently in a magazine, in the New Jersey League of Municipalities magazine, and near the end, it talked about possible legislation coming up to have an ethics course. And I'm just thinking, I don't question anyone's ethics here in this committee, and Bruce Levinson, who's not sitting right here, I don't question any of our ethics, and thus not my own. However, just like in those courses that I've had with those corporations, it's a good reminder to go through these things and to commit and recommit ourselves. So, why wait for a law to come out? We have a nationally recognized and esteemed solicitor here who I know has taught many courses, and I was just wondering, and I haven't discussed this with any of the committee, but John, because I just read it in the magazine, is this possible that you might be able to help us with something like this? Is this something we could do before this becomes law? Am I off base with this, or is this something you might be willing to, of course we'd pay you, but just...
You mean give a seminar?
Sorry?
You mean give a seminar?
Yeah, something like that, just like an ethics seminar, just to remind us all, because eventually I'm assuming that what's being sponsored, what's being proposed here is for all municipal bodies and governing bodies to go to have a course every year. So why wait for that to come? I mean,
I'm familiar with the legislation. I don't know that it's going to pass this year, but yeah, absolutely. If the committee wants to do an ethics day, I'm happy to.
I appreciate it. I'm just kind of throwing it on everybody,
Yeah.
but
But if you're going to do it for committee, you ought to do it for the Joint Land Use Board.
For the other boards, yes, I wanted to mention that as well, yes. So I just think it might be good, yeah. So we could, look into that, and I can circle back, but it just came upon me. And other than that, I'm sorry, I was a little longer than I thought, but
Would you want to do it?
Appreciate it. God bless Hainesport.
Meeting, that we're doing on a separate day.
All right, not the Queen?
God bless.
All right, thank you. First of all, I want to say congratulations to Paula. I'm going to try to keep it short. Concerts in the park are coming up, movies in the park. It's great. I will tell you, I so much love living in this town. Big old Rusty, watching that get built. I wasn't quite sure what it was going to be, what it was going to be like. I was kind of, watching, but I will tell you, when it's all done, I was impressed.
Cool.
And now I follow Thomas Dambo on, and it's really interesting. Like, he's heading to Michigan now, so it's pretty cool. So. With that, I want to thank everybody for coming out. I want to thank our staff for doing a great job, as you always do. I am so impressed. So, you're spectacular. So, again, I want to thank everybody for coming out. And with that, I think we have to pay the bills. So, okay, can like to make a motion that we pay the bills?
I'll second.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore? Mrs. Evans?
I have to abstain from purchase order 23-00380 because I purchased a hardback Thomas Dambo Troll book for the township, and I'm being reimbursed. It's available for people to look at, I think, if they want to, right, Paula? Yeah, and it's signed to the town, which is really cool.
Okay.
But apart from that, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mayor Klaus.
Yes. Okay, we do have an executive session. There possibly could be action afterwards, but you're welcome to. Are we staying here or are we going in the back room? We're going in the back room.
For the benefit of the public, it's probably a 15-minute conversation in executive session, the subject matter of which will be made available at the appropriate time when the matter is concluded.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we close this session and go to executive session.
Second for that?
Second.
Mr. Montgomery?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mrs. Evans?
Yes.
Mayor Klaus.
Yes. Okay.
You're now.
Oh. I thought that would be a lot more fun, but it's really not.
You got to do it harder.